So there's a famous proverb that fear and courage are kin. You actually do not get to the courageous move without fear. I don't like the word fearless, Jeremiah. I actually like fear more.
Mm.
I want us to fear more. I want you to find the largest fear in the business, and I want you to make it just a little less scary and bring it to the surface.
Welcome to another episode of the Prosper Brief, the show dedicated to elevating the future of the food service and hospitality industry. I am your host, Jeremiah Wynn, and today we are joined by Ryan Berman, a master storyteller, corporate fear fighter, and founder of Courageous. Today, we're going to be talking about how purpose can overcome fear. Stay with us. Attention emerging leaders in food service and hospitality. Are you ready to accelerate your career? If so, join us for the Accelerate Conference on October 22nd through the 24th at the Omni Hotel in Dallas, Texas. Gain insights from over 1,000 collective years of business and leadership experience. Engage in more than 30 focused breakout sessions. Be inspired by 5 empowering general sessions featuring industry experts. Don't miss this opportunity to build valuable connections and elevate your leadership talent to give your business the competitive edge it deserves. Register today at prosperaccelerate.com. Ryan, welcome to the podcast, man. Welcome to the Prosper Brief. How are you doing today, man?
Oh wait, we're recording this? This is
Oh,
it?
my bad.
We're doing.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm great, brother. I'm great. It's great to be here. Man, I've really enjoyed our jam sessions already. So all
Yeah,
all is well. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Had a great weekend. We had a nice little staycation out here. Took my kids to Top Golf. My daughter beat us all in. I don't like the point system, man. It's like they're barely making it over the fence and they're getting like 25,000 points. but it was a fun time, man. So I've been really good. You've been traveling a lot, or?
Yeah. Actually, it was nice to be home this weekend. I was in Colorado the last 3 or 4 days. Had a keynote on Friday there. Actually, it was super surprising group. There's sometimes when you take a stage and you're just not sure. You're like you always have to stay true to the content.
Yeah,
Like I think when I always joke when your company's called Courageous, you're kind of telling the world who you're not for as much as who you are for. So,
yeah,
you have an obligation to stay courageous even from a stage, and
yeah.
so just to not give anything away because it needs to stay in the room. It was a tough love conversation, and I think tough without the love, you're a jerk. But
Mm-hmm.
tough love, like the intent was there, and it was sort of a company that needed a little kick in the pants, but
Yeah.
there's so much potential. And by the way, the word potential is on my list of 3 like least favorite words. It's like potential, you haven't made it to where you want it to go yet.
Yeah.
Another one is tolerate. I think that's a terrible word. Like, oh, I tolerate someone's behavior. And then deadlines. Like we couldn't come up with a better word than deadlines. Like, come on, guys, we're better than that. So
Yeah.
anyway, I love what I love what I do, and that's the fun part. But sometimes you have to trust the process and be like, all right, here's the combo we need to have today from the stage. And it was awesome. Like
That's great.
the group responded very well, and we had the chat that needed to
Yeah.
happen. So there's joy.
Okay, so I've done public speaking before. Grew up in church. Sometimes I would preach messages, and as I'm preaching, I remember looking into the audience, and I'm like, no one believes a word that I am saying right now. When you're in those moments and you are giving tough love, how are you gauging the room? Are you looking at their eyes, their behaviors, what is that like?
Well, I always, if I'm going to be this is for anyone that's like curious about speaking. So I think the only way to answer this the right way is by saying I don't see myself as a motivational speaker. I see myself as a conversational speaker. So if I'm going to actually land with a room, you have to win what I call the zero inning, not the first inning, the zero inning. The zero inning is doing your homework. So by the time you land in the room, you actually have enough knowledge on the business. And I think that's where I probably take the most pride in. I'm still a practitioner. I'm still studying. I'm still curious. I'm still learning. I mean, I've now been able to see probably every vertical under the sun from hospitality business to the hospital businesses, but
Wow.
you're just trying to, by the time you're in the room, have enough of an understanding on the business that when you have a conversation, you're not pretending to know it all, but you know enough to be dangerous. Then it changes the combo. So, and you're very aware, because I'm going to be doing some work with you guys, that it's critical that I talk to people that are going to be in the room, so I can understand the temperature check, what's life like for them, if there's a state of the union for them. So for this particular group, I had spoken to the two CEOs, one of the VC firm that owned them and the CEO itself, to truly understand like a temperature check on the business. And then you do your own research. And from there, then it's like, let's have a chat. Let's have a
Yeah.
chat about, and I still have my keynote. It's not like I don't have like the need for change and why we need to be courageous. And if anyone's watching this, I think you
Yeah.
get from the backdrop what business I'm in. But then from there, we can have the chat we need to have.
Yeah. Okay. That's really great. I love that the conversational piece is very necessary, because a lot of people who do see themselves as speakers, not categorizing it, right? But I'll say, for me, when I think of a motivational speaker, I'm thinking of someone who really wants to come and be heard. Like, you're coming to speak to me and be heard. But when I think of conversational, I feel like you're coming to speak to me, but you're also coming to hear from me as well at the same time. And it is interactive, whether it is a gesture or it is you understanding who I am before I even enter into the room. And I think that's very powerful, like you said, doing your homework.
To me, it's participation and maybe a little
Yeah.
perspiration. I mean, it's both.
Yeah.
You want to, like, hey, like I know that I know that this is a conversation that you want to have and you haven't been able to have it. And
Yeah.
also, if I really think about the differences between and again, I'm not going to even pretend like to know what it's like to be a motivational speaker. Real honestly, like, my job is to move the business forward. That's it. Like, if
Yeah.
there's sometimes the honest conversation is just, there's a conversation in the room that needs to happen. And I'm just a translation service. Like, leadership's slightly frustrated because they're like, hey, why does the room not understand that this is important? And then the room is frustrated because, like, why doesn't leadership understand that this is important? We don't feel like we're being seen. We don't feel like we're being heard.
Mm.
So usually both sides kind of know, and
Yeah.
leadership isn't giving the team enough credit that they
Yeah.
know, right? And the team's like, we know, we just don't feel, we feel the fear. Like, are
Yeah.
we allowed to speak up or not allowed to speak up? So if I'm good at anything, I think it starts with like just disarming a room. Like,
Absolutely.
that's why I like the conversational speaker versus the motivational speaker. Like, let's keep it real. Nobody has time to waste. We're gonna have fun still. Like, I always bring some fun and laughter to a room, but these are the tools in my belt to make sure, to your point, it's like, yeah, let's make sure you're listening. Also, on the flip of this, I'll call people out. Like, if I see somebody on their cell phone while I'm talking, I'm like, are you you're taking notes, right?
Yeah.
Because I want them to be there. Like, I I honor the fact that if you look at the hourly rate, can you imagine if you brought 500 people together at $1,000 hourly rate or $500 hourly rate? That's a lot of money being invested in that hour with me.
Yeah.
So I want to honor that and remind an audience, like, I understand how valuable this time is. Let's get to it. Let's cut to the chase. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't about me. Like, let's have the conversation that we need to have so we can actually start making an impact on the business.
Yeah. That's great. Speaking of that, so anytime you see me looking away, I have a notebook. I take notes during these podcasts, and already I've written a few things down. But one thing that you did touch on was potential. And one thing that I realized being married is you can't marry potential, because if you marry somebody for who they're not, who they aren't today, and because you think that they're going to be something in the future, they may not actually reach that. They may not see that potential in themselves. So it's possible that they will continue to be exactly who they are today and never reach that potential, So for you, when you think of that word potential, and as it comes to having purpose and fear, what do you think about that? Like, how real is potential?
Wow. So that's not where, so where my mind went first was, how well do you know yourself? Like, betting on someone's potential, it's like, how about you bet on who you are
Hmm.
And like I would just say, when you compare, beware. So like for starters, when you compare, beware. Like how about you just get clear on who you are, right? And it's funny when I think about my relationship with my wife, who I love to tears. We got very lucky. We met in our 30s, so I basically had a whole New York City life.
Hmm.
And my 20s was basically I learned story. I was also terrified of my bosses because it was the Mad Men era, but they
Yeah.
taught me like if I was going into that room, I better be ready to go. So I learned story from them, but I wasn't like capable of doing anything other than locked in on like doing my craft. I didn't see myself capable of like having a relationship at that moment, other than I wanted to be great at work. And then I moved west, and when I'm 29, I fumble into starting my first creative ad agency. And it wasn't even my idea, it was my business partner's idea at the time. And it was like my partners were my business partner and fear and stubbornness. And we're going to figure this thing out. Right. And
Yeah.
so there's another 5 years of not dragging another human through. I'm just like, I didn't want to drown. I don't want to figure it out. I'm in like my mid 30s when I finally come out, like, we're not going to die. We're not going to drown. The business is like figuring itself out. And I felt like at that moment, I kind of knew who I was, and my wife knew who she was. And there are some keynotes that I talk about Jerry Maguire. I always love asking like who hasn't seen the movie just to see like the age of like, wait a minute, have you not seen Jerry Maguire? And there's three great lines in that movie. Well, there's more than three, but there's three that I talk about. First is show me the money.
Of course.
Show me the money, Jerry. I don't think anybody has an issue with this line.
Yeah.
The second was when Renee turns to Tom Cruise's character and said, "You had me at hello,"
Hmm.
which is a sweet line. And what was his response? Do you remember his response?
No, I want to. Did he say you complete me on that or?
Bam, you nailed it.
Okay.
You complete me. And I think that line completely messed up my generation because
Mm.
I don't believe in you complete me.
Mm.
I believe in me complete me. I do believe in you compliment me, but I think the more if you're actually looking for someone to complete you, or you're betting on their potential to get there, to get you there, you're like, I just don't see that as a reality. I believe in you compliment me. So my wife knew who she was, I knew who I was, and she had a whole slew of adventures that she went through, right? So by the time we came together, again, she compliments me, I compliment me. But if I compromise myself, assuming that she's going to be able to complete me, I think the more you compromise, the more compromised you are. So again, the long arc to the concept on potential, but I agree with you that it's like when it comes to me or my partner, it's like, no, I think you got to do the work on yourself and be at peace with who you are. You're not like you're ever done. It's not like box checked. I know myself. You're constantly working on yourself, but getting clear on who you are, I think is critical.
So let's shift to business relationships, right? Because I have found that there's some people who they don't understand the potential that they have, so they do feel like they need to hire somebody to complete them, or they need to hire someone who can do the things that they're unable to do. So how do you, as a business mind, how do you create relationships where it's like the people you're hiring are complementing what you already have to offer?
Yeah, I think that's the word, complimenting, right? And so let's call it what it is. Like there are times when, you might see somebody that works for you that they don't even see it yet, right? But
Hmm.
you do. Okay. Okay, that's a different part of potential. There's still belief there, right? Now maybe they've got blinders on, or maybe they just haven't been in those environments yet, but they're on their way. I think that's a different it's a great thing when you run into people like, wow, I see something in you that you don't even see yet, right? And how does that make the other person feel? Like, I don't think they think of potential in that moment. I think they think of belief in that moment. And to me,
Wow.
belief is one of the most powerful. Like to me, it's like almost like the currency of a leader is to create true belief, not like bubblegum belief or like, the amount of times I've said we confuse sometimes leadership with cheerleadership.
Yeah.
And we're like rah-rahing to our, like, your team's smart enough to know, like,
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah. Yeah.
I see the numbers. No, this is
Yeah.
not that. This is like, wow, I call it believership. Like the sole goal of the leader is to create believers in all directions, and you either make a believer or a fake believer. And unfortunately, fake believers don't wear a t-shirt that says fake believer, right? They just nod and
Yeah.
smile. But when you're creating real believership, when you're creating real true believers, you're being real about it. And again, your people know where they stand with you.
Yeah. Is there a moment that you can tell us about where you did believe in someone and they never reached that potential that you saw in them?
Uh, I do you think in this question I am working for somebody else or they're working for me?
They're working for you.
Okay. I think there's always opportunity. There's always little moments. Again, I don't have one. Okay, I'll give you an example. This is slightly vaguer than you want.
Okay.
Okay, but I always have felt that I want entrepreneurial people. I always want entrepreneurial people. I'm not looking for just like, so there's like a manager. I'll take entrepreneurial over managerial. So there have been times where I'm like, I can't tell this person to be entrepreneurial. I want them to take the reins. It's up to them. Like, and I see that's possible for them, and I believe in them. But at the end of the day, right, it's like the training wheels have to come off,
Yeah.
and this person's going to either be able to take the bike and go, or they don't want to take the bike. So if I've ever been frustrated, it's been where you've made a bet on somebody and you want them to be proactive, and it's almost unfair because you're putting your perspective of how you would do it
Yeah.
right into their shoes.
Yeah.
And I'm not also, there's times when I haven't shared that. Great leadership sometimes is repeaters make believers. You're consistently telling them what you need of them, right? Like this is what we need from you in this role. And there's been times in the past where I'm like, you know what, I want to see if this person takes the baton and goes. And you're not
Yeah.
like trying to be cute. You've got 100 other things to do, right? So it's just not on
Yeah.
the top of your list. And so if the joy is when they take it, you're like, yes, like go. They're off and running. The training wheels are off. And there's been some times where like, what a bummer. Like I just wanted more. And like, do I let this person know? Is that on me as a leader to let them know? Or there just has to be something inherently inside you that wants to take it and go and be the rocket ship that you are.
Yeah. I totally understand that. And speaking of like taking something and going and being the rocket ship, I remember we had a conversation about how you're traveling a lot and you're back and forth. And I told you about how I used to pursue music really heavy. And at this point in my life, I'm so comfortable not traveling, like doing my thing. And you asked me a question. You said, "Is your purpose bigger than your fear?" And that like kind of stuck with me because I'm like, not only is it bigger than the fear, but is it also bigger than your comfort? Like, how important is that purpose for you? So I want to start, and I know we've been like the last 16 minutes, we've really just been like shooting it, but I kind of want to gear towards like, the idea of fear and purpose and courage. And I want to ask you, where did that stem from? This idea of having purpose and allowing your purpose to be more real, more important than your fears are.
So this is where I'm like, do you want the 1 minute answer, the 3 minute answer, the
No,
seven
let's
minute answer?
go.
Right. All right, let's
Let's
go.
go, man. I'm
All
done
right.
talking. Let's go.
All right. So my ask for the audience is whenever you from this day forward, if you love this show, when you think about the guests that come on this show, like we're all on our little path to learn and we're all on our journey to learn. And my journey started when I was at my last creative agency. And the premise going in was courageous ideas are the only ones that matter. So I live in San Diego, California. I decided to write a book on this premise, and it was me basically shutting up for 2.5 years, interviewing people way smarter than me on how they be courageous. And so I got to sit with astronauts and Navy SEALs and tornado chasers, and then leaders at Google and Harvard and Method Soap and Alexa, and then also people that study the way that we're wired. So clinical psychologist, Cambridge PhDs, one of the co-writers of The Secret, and it's almost an unfair learning experience.
Yeah.
Right? You go and have lunch with all these people, and you learn from them. And I'm sure it's probably how you feel with, I mean, not me, but like the amount of
No,
guests
yeah,
you have on the
absolutely.
show, right? Like you're like, wow, this
Absolutely.
is so cool that I get to bring all these people to the show.
Including
So
you. Yeah.
I appreciate that. But so to me, it was, as I'm learning, I have a hypothesis going in that courageous ideas are the only ones that matter and which turns into my book, Return on Courage. And as I go through it, I start meeting all these people. It becomes, oh shoot, courageous ideas die without courageous leaders. And it gets much
Mm.
wider. And I'm like, wow, it's not just about the idea part. It's like the amount of times that a company can actually unlock a good idea, but there's so much fear, right? Because it's hard to be a leader. It's hard to be a board. It's hard to say yes. It's hard to say no. It's hard to invest in something. There's
Yeah.
so much on the line. And so as you start to like deconstruct the salad, right? Right. Like you're like, oh wow, there's all these little components that separate like where clarity comes from or how fear can get in the way or good luck trying to do this by yourself
Mm-hmm.
or are we really all aligned on a shared purpose? And so to me it was that lap over the course of, it was 3 years from start to finish, including writing the book and getting the book out, that I learned there's a price of being courageous. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And PRICE is actually an acronym. So it stands for prioritize, rally, identify, commit, and execute. And prioritize is prioritize through values. And in the spirit of keeping this tight,
Of course.
how valuable are your values? Like, are your values real or BS? So the Colorado keynote that I just came from, 11
Mm-hmm.
values. 11 values. I almost a 50-year-old man. I can remember four.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being 24 years old and just starting that company? Like, you can't have 11 values,
Yeah.
right? R's rally believers, right? Are you in or are you out? That's the believership piece. Okay. What are the values? Are we aligned on the values? Yeah. I is identify fears. So there's a famous proverb that fear and courage are kin. You actually do not get to the courageous move without fear. I don't like the word fearless, Jeremiah. I actually like fear more.
Mm.
I want us to fear more. I want you to find the largest fear in the business, and I want you to make it just a little less scary and bring it to the surface.
Can we pause? Because I want to unpack that real quick. So, why? What's the importance of magnifying that fear, and what are the outcomes that you can get out of that?
So if you pull the Ryan Berman string on what type of business courageous is, we say we're in the fear fighting business.
Okay.
We're corporate fear fighters. My phone rings when there's a fear that needs to be addressed. There's a place where, think about it for the listener. Don't do this in the car, by the way, but for everyone else who can write something down while we're jamming here, there's probably a place in your business that you're stuck, that you're scared, that you're stale, or you're safe. You're playing it too safe. And if you play it too safe over a period of time, you're probably going to get passed by a competitor you see or you don't see yet. So for me, that's where the fear is. When you're stuck and don't want to address that fear, you're stale. You've been stuck for a while, and you've talked about it, but there's been no action. You're scared, which is pretty much the definition of being human. And then you're safe. It's just you're just not pushing. And so we're looking for where those fears are. And sometimes it's just like, well, you can't do anything about addressing it if we don't first talk about it. But what most companies do is we suppress fear versus bring it to the surface and address it. This is where great leadership comes in, right? If your purpose outweighs your fear, it's like, hey, we know we're trying to take this on. We're trying to shrink this problem down. This is where the pain is. Let's make sure we're all aligned on knowing we're going to go after this. We're going to attack this fear. So that is the business that we're in. It's literally bringing that fear to the surface and then figuring out a way to shrink that fear down.
I love that because the idea of fearless is almost like this idea of, oh, I just never fail, right? Because if you never feel that feeling of fear, you don't have a gauge, to like know when things are uncomfortable, when you do really care about something, when there is a risk involved, but the reward is going to be greater than that. So to say fearless, it almost takes the sting out of like the importance of what fear is supposed to do for you.
And there's a lot of I see like a lot of like a fearless creative. No, I don't really believe in that. Again, I think it's okay to be like to be bold and to be brave, right? But like,
Yeah.
how are we going to take this fear down? My One of my mentors, his name is Ron Berger. Ron, Mad Men from New York. Like He came up with Subway Eat Fresh. He was
Oh wow.
Time to Make the Donuts. I mean, he's like for Dunkin' Donuts. He says there's a big difference between risk and risky.
Hmm.
And I like that. I think that's spot on. It's like, hey, at some
Yep.
point as a leader, by the way, if you're going to lead an organization, your best people are watching if you have a capacity to take a risk. Now it's onboarding the team and getting them to come along, which is why purpose is so important, right?
Yeah.
So, in the spirit of price, the C, because we just did I, which is identify fears, the C is commit to a purpose.
Hmm.
Okay. So it's not enough just to know what your why is. You got to put that rally cry in that why. What is the rally cry that we're going to lock arms on this? It is us versus them. This is hard to do, but we're going to do it.
Is financial gain a big enough purpose to drive a company?
I mean, would you stay for that?
Me, no, but I feel like I'm purpose driven in my life. Like,
Yeah, but the minute you go me no but, I mean it's game over,
yeah,
right? Me no but, like it's like
yeah,
it's all again, it's so hard because a board of directors has an obligation, and a C-suite knows they need to generate revenue. But if I'm 26, if I'm 29, right, I wear my values on my sleeve, right?
yeah,
I always say about the next generation, they want to have their cake, they want to eat it too, and they want the cake to be gluten free. They want everything, right? And and if they're really really talented, they will find a company, right, that will let them do. They want all of the above, and so to me, I don't see financial gain being enough to make the next generation go, "Mhm, I'm sticking around just for money."
yeah,
No, they want something more, and your job as a leader is to figure that out. Now, what is that? Like, yeah, Chipotle, right? Like we know the power of integrity in their. If you look at their
yeah,
commentary, we know the power of real.
mm-hmm,
They didn't say money.
yeah,
They're looking at, hey, this seems like an injustice.
yeah,
We're not going to be that. Who's
yeah,
coming with us? Who's going to lock arms with us? So to me, that's when your purpose outweighs your fear. It's like, this is the business that we're in. We're not going to be like them. It's
mm-hmm,
going to be hard, but we're going to do it this way. Are you with us?
yeah,
That is the job of the leadership. It can't just be about money. By the way, a lot of companies get this wrong. And you understand why, because there's so much fear, and when fear wins and fear is beating you,
mm-hmm,
right, and that's when trust can wane too. And then it's like, oh,
yeah,
it's got to be about the money
yeah,
versus the long game.
yeah,
Let me share one of the stories that I wish
yeah,
I got to interview um, Tim Cook, who's running Apple, on an investor call. He made a comment. This is now 5 or 6 years ago. He said, if you want to, he's like, if you are only in our stock for financial gain, get out of the stock.
hmm,
Right. Well, why would he say such a thing? So they're going to make the right decisions for both the universe and for Apple over a long game. But if you're looking for like 1 year flips every year, he's like, just get out of the stock, because that's not the way we're going to operate our plan moving forward. Great
wow,
advice.
yeah. Wow, that's really great advice. And it's funny because I actually have a friend of mine. So we both have like production companies and we do like film, social media content creation, videography. And I went through a phase a couple, like maybe a year ago, where I was just so focused and fixated on the financial gain and like on the money that I started to lose joy, excitement. Everything became stale and mundane. And then eventually, like, I kind of like reevaluated everything and I'm like, what is my purpose in all this? And my purpose is to make an impact. So I'm partnering with these companies, not just to create Instagram videos for them, but I want to make an impact so that the product that they're trying to sell, the people they're trying to reach, they're able to, I'm that bridge to get them to their audience, you know? And having that in mind, even with my music, knowing that I'm making an impact with the messaging, with the lyrics, with the words, with the music, with the production, I feel so fulfilled whether money's coming and being generated or not. And I look at my friend, and he recently he actually stopped his business because he took the complete extreme, right? He took this class that was all about, I'm going to teach you how to make $100,000 a month, doing videography and all that. He got burnt out and he lost passion for it, and then he moved on. And I feel like that's one thing that is such a powerful lesson. And I tell people all the time, like, you have to consider what your purpose is, because that's going to be the fuel that keeps you, whether you're making millions of dollars or making 10 cents. like that's going to always drive you to keep going forward. And eventually the money's going to come anyways if you're really doing it.
Yeah, I find if you lose passion for what you're doing, and by the way, I'll be the first to admit that there's some pretty influential people that have posted videos on social, kind of going against don't find your passion. Like I've seen like commencement speeches, I've seen professors at well-known institutions who are like, don't do your passion. Like you need to figure out how to monetize and make money. And I couldn't disagree more with that advice. Like again, if you're passionate about something, there's it gets you at your core. There's probably energy there. Now you got to stay curious on growing that passion.
Yeah.
Right. And now, okay. So the money, to your point, the money will come, assuming you're putting in the work for that. I couldn't agree more. I've definitely been of the mindset, like, the pursuit of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that line is also, it's to me, the pursuit is happiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Right. The pursuit is happiness. It's not the pursuit of happiness, which means you have to find joy in the journey. You have to find joy in what you're doing. Now, for me, Courageous, when we launched 8 years ago, I wasn't sure what is this? Am I going to just have a book and keynote? We followed the path. And the more we realize, like, wow, sometimes it is courageous conversations.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is courageous ideas. Sometimes it's so hard to be a leader. It is courageous communities.
Yeah.
Right. The higher up you get in a company, the less people we seem to trust. We need that our community of people we can rely on and have. And one person is running, I don't want to give her name up, but like she's pretty high up at Pinterest. She's like, I don't need 100 people in another community. I need my 5. I need my 5 trusted that I can ask those hard questions to. Sometimes it is courageous reinvention. So what I love is, like life is short, but it's very wide. Courageous is very wide. It's a very wide platform that allows us to play in all these different arenas.
Yeah.
And in almost every single time it is, how clear are you on that courageous story, which is what we're really providing.
Yeah. One thing that you said earlier, it was about knowing yourself, right? So when you know yourself, you can implement certain things and attributes of yourself, whether it isn't, because like you may like to pursue passion, but maybe you just have a very creative gene, right? Maybe you like music and that's how you let out your creativity, but you can find a job where you're also letting out that same passion, being creative, It doesn't have to be, like you said before, focus on the monetary gain and what can you monetize, like, no, because it's just not enough. And I feel like you said earlier about just having your cake and eating it too. If you're able to have a passion, enjoy your life, enjoy your journey, and then also money starts coming in and that eventually gets generated, then you're actually having your cake and eating it too. But if you just think that the money is going to do it, that I disagree with that. And I think we're definitely aligned on there. I had another question that I wanted to kind of like get you to break down a little bit. You said there's a difference between risk and risky. What is that difference?
It might be just let's say these are dials on an amp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let's say, look, reckless behavior is not courageous behavior. And just to play the other side of this, and I don't think this is right. Like reckless behavior is reckless. It's not courageous. And I would also say resilient behavior is not courageous behavior. Also different. So one of the first, let's say the first 6 months of writing of Return on Courage, if you look at the dictionary definition of courage, the definition is the ability to do something that frightens you. And I'm like, wow, who wants to do that at work? Like, how does that help me at work? Please step forward. I'm taking a step back. And I just didn't see the utility in the definition. And so I just wanted to come up with a better definition of courage. And so where we landed, or where I landed, there's 3 levers that we always look to make sure it's courageous. And to your point, risk versus risky, right? This is same conversation. And so the 3 levers we look for, there's knowledge, there's faith, and there's action. And In business, if you wait for 100% of the knowledge, the data people don't always love this answer, but like you're going to get passed by somebody. So the idea is the more knowledge you have, hopefully the more your faith goes up. And when we talk about faith, we don't mean it in like, the church faith side. We mean
Yeah.
it in the conviction space. We mean it in the inner belief, right? Like, hey, we're gaining some knowledge here. I feel like we should make a move on this. And then how often have you talked about making a move and you felt it was the right move, but no action's ever taken?
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage. And if you remove just one of the levers, you're working on something else. So knowledge and faith with no action is paralysis,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've all been in that
Absolutely.
organization where it's like talk, 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 and then nothing ever happens. And then faith and action without knowledge is a reckless move. Let's make sure we have some data before we leap forward here, which I think is the risky comment. And then from my experience, knowledge and action without faith, if you are numb on the inside and you're going through the motions, you're working on status quo. You're working on safe. If you actually don't have that little voice that's going, this is a little crazy right now, oh my gosh, or I feel imposter syndrome, or can we do this? If you are numb on the inside, and this happens to sometimes to people that have been in a company for 10 years, 20 years, right? And they've become complacent. That to me, knowledge and action without faith is equals status quo. So to know you're doing something courageous, there is knowledge. That's the think side of the business. There is
Yeah.
faith. That's the feel side of the business. And there is action. That's the do side of the business.
Wow, like you're giving me cheat codes to life right now because that's like such a great gauge. Because there's been so many moments when I've had faith in action and no knowledge and have made mistakes. But I feel like that's such a great, like a great, like little. I'm thinking of a cool word and I cannot think of it. Like it's just like a good combination of words to use to kind of like gauge your decision making, and I love that.
Well, I hope, I mean, look, if you've made it this far into the pod, my hopes and dreams is that the definition is the one thing you walk away with today and run your life through. What do I think? How does it make me feel? What am I going to do about it? Think, feel, and do. Knowledge, faith, and action. And for you, also give yourself some grace too. Like there are times where taking action, having faith and taking action is another means to knowledge. There is more. Now, maybe it is a little risky. Maybe it is a little reckless, but I would still take that than talking about it and feeling it and never doing it. Because if you talk
Okay.
about something long enough and you feel it, but you never do it. And by the way, this isn't that. Now imagine you have a team and you're talking about something and you feel it and you never do it and you never
Yeah.
do it. What that leads to is frustration. It
Hmm.
leads to like surrender. To me, that's inaction. And it's like, wow, and your smartest players on your team, by the way, they're smart enough to know, like, hey, we've been talking about this for a while. Why aren't we doing this? Like, let's go
Yeah.
already. So, use the definition for what it is. Especially, I love how you said like you got complacent for a little bit, but if you start to be like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, I'm nervous about this, that's faith. You want that
Mm,
little voice. You want
yeah.
that little moment.
That's great. So when you're going into a company that maybe they are stagnant, a lot of the people and some of the key players they have like a very fixed mindset, and they bring you in. What do you do to help them become more courageous and potentially grow?
Yeah. Well, I think again, this is my fourth business that I've been able to like start. And I think it's the first time I got the name right.
Hmm.
Right. So again, if someone's gonna call me or like, hey, you gotta go talk to Ryan, like let's bring Ryan in. Already just by having courageous as a backdrop, it tells me that they're ready to receive the medicine, right? Or the vitamin, depending on the company. Like at
Yeah.
least at least they're open, they're willing and open to hearing the conversation. And I think there's been times in other companies where it's like we've had to try to convince them that they need us. That's never a good place to be. Like I don't think you ever have the power to like convince somebody of anything. Like I might say something that gives you enough to convince yourself, but by being called courageous, I think it puts us in a position to at least have the conversation that needs to happen. And it's like, hey, where do you see where do you see your fear? Is it an industry fear? And just so you know, this is covered in the book too. Like we looked at SWOT. We looked at the SWOT analysis. If you've done a SWOT before,
Of course. Yeah, it's like business
okay, right?
classes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So like this, so if you look at SWOT, SWOT was founded over 60 years ago at Stanford, and yet somehow remains like the standard that we turn to. And every time I do a SWOT, my strength is also on my opportunities list. My weakness is on my threat. Feels very cloudy to me.
Yeah.
So where we start is by breaking down fears. We look at industry fears. What could take the whole vertical down? We look at product fears. Where could the product be better? We look at service fears on the customer service side. We look at perception fears, which is marketing, right? Hey, we think we're this, but the world sees us as that. Help us. And then we look at personal fears. And personal fears is that the best way to describe that is like, can you speak freely at work?
Mm.
Are you in a watch your back culture or got your back culture? Right. And so often it almost always starts with, hey, we've got a great culture, but we're trying to be courageous. Or, hey, there's a conversation inside the business. We got to get everyone on the same page before we even pass
Yeah.
go and start attacking the business. So it almost always starts with listening, right? The way forward is to listen, try to really understand where the fear is. What's the largest fear that the company has? Remember how I said we have our price methodology and the P is prioritized through values.
Yeah.
So we have 4 values at Courageous, but the number 1 value is sacrifice. So it's like the most important thing is the most important thing. And the amount of times we've gone into a company and it's like they have 11 priorities or 16 priorities. Has anybody
Wow.
prioritized the priorities? Right. So it's helping them sacrifice down and like, let's talk about our gold medal priority. Let's talk about our silver medal priority and our bronze, and anything beyond that is overwhelming and you're not going to be potent at it. So I think how we've been able to be successful starts with the ready for us, right? We're called courageous. 2, now that we're in there, let's listen and really understand where the fears are. And then 3, let's really look at where we should use our courage and where we shouldn't use our courage. We've definitely described courage like a currency. You know, if
Wow.
you try to use courage everywhere, you're going to be emotionally broke. Or you've got to pick the spots. You're going to exhaust everybody otherwise. Right? So if courage is a currency, let's pick our spots on where we need to be brave. And then we will help them. We have a courage rating where we'll like, what's a bunny slope problem to what's a black diamond problem, right? And like, let's help you start to prioritize. Here's how we would attack this problem, and it's over. And the mission might be a year, could be 3 years, and however long that is how long we stay on board. And we're bringing that outside perspective,
Yeah.
the inspiration, and some accountability.
That's great, man. So what keeps you up nowadays? What is your fear right now?
Man, I feel like we are. It's some. I don't know. You tell me if this is fair or not. I'll always take an outside perspective on this. I always feel like we're in experimentation mode. Like we want to help and we want to serve, and we've got great at bats. I mean, we've been able to work with from the Kraft Heinz of the world at Kellanova in Europe. Right now, we're working with Tropicana. We're working with Bausch and Lomb. But I feel like we're ready for prime time, and there's moments where I'm most more afraid of growth. I'm more
Mhm.
afraid of success and scaling this and making sure that we don't water down the mentality and the product. And we're not trying to be a Bain or like a Deloitte. We like our style on the consulting side of the business.
Yeah.
And I think other companies are really good at making you think, but they're less good at making you feel and do. And I think that's what separates us is like there is no behavior change without feeling. So I think we're at the point now where it's like finding the right leaders that share our mentality and then hitting the gas and going. But my fear is, oh shoot, like this is kind of working now. How might that change my livelihood, or what happens if we double in size, or
Hmm.
can I make sure our culture stays true to who we are, and if I've ever been burned in the past, it's almost the opposite of where we started. It's like you hire somebody that isn't on culture, isn't on brand,
Yeah.
and that sets you back. And so I have to get over my fear of that in order for us to grow. I don't think it's control freak. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
not. But
No.
it's more like letting go and letting the culture grow is probably where we are.
Well, are you good at kind of like looking really far ahead, like 5, 6, 7 steps ahead, and planning for that?
I think that's probably where I'm, for better or for worse, and my team would say where I'm best at is the dreamer part, right? Like where are we going as a company, right? It's the I heard somewhere along the way, it's like one hand in today and one hand in tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you have two hands in today, you take your eye off what's going on here. But if you've got two hands in tomorrow, you miss what's going on in the day job. But if you've
Yeah.
got two hands in only today, right, forest through the trees, and you're missing where you can be going. So I try to toggle both of those worlds. What is the business need of me today, or how am I servicing a client today? But like, what's the opportunity in the future? And for Courageous, the community side I think is a huge opportunity. The content side I think is a huge opportunity. I think it's clear we need more inspiration and more motivation. And if we can be a positive force in that arena and telling courageous stories, we want to continue to do that.
What do you mean by telling courageous stories? Can you go into that a little bit more?
Um, the best way to describe this, and this says this is like the dreamer side of me.
Mm-hmm.
So in the spirit of putting stuff out into the ether, and if
Yeah.
someone's listening and they can help, if courageous was a button on your Roku, what would the content be? I sort of feel like TED has run its course. This might not be a popular opinion, so I don't mean to like upset anybody at TED by saying this. There are times when I feel like it's become too much about the person in the circle and not about the audience. And so making sure we're giving true knowledge transfer so people are being more brave. And bravery, it's different on a case by case basis. Like maybe it's just one step towards your goal, right? For you, it might be music. What is the one thing you can do in the next quarter that's going to advance that?
Mm-hmm.
So if I can nudge you forward, like I am down for that. And that's the type of content we want to create. Now there are other I don't think you know this. Maybe you do know this. So I have two books coming out.
No, I
One
didn't.
in October.
Oh yeah, I did.
That's one in October called Head of Mentals. So the only way I think the idea is like fundamentals for your head, and the idea of our self talk is killing us, right? And so like how do
Yeah.
you actually deal with the monster in our minds? And I wrote this book with Dr. Susie Burke. She brought the science. I brought a lot of the story and Rhett Power. These guys are Marshall Goldsmith, top 50 coaches. And we were all managing our own businesses and managing our own clients and realized like everyone seems to have this voice in their head. And I think the only way to get ahead is to understand your head. So Head of Mentals is coming out in October. In March, this is what I mean by courageous stories. I've been gifted the opportunity to work with Landon Donovan, who's probably the best U.S. men's soccer player we've produced.
Wow.
And his story is off the charts. It's not just
Wow.
about soccer. He grew up, from the age of 15, he was sort of ragdolled all over creation to play for America. Um, and his dad wasn't really in his life. So there's a lot to his story. People don't realize how depressed he was. It's a mental health story. It also looks at the rise of U.S. soccer. So
That's cool.
the that'll be in March with the World Cup coming around. To me, that is a courageous story that can inspire a lot of people. Well, what is that? Is that a content production arm of Courageous? Uh, I'm not sure what it is yet, but we anything that's a courageous story, we want to be a part of and we want to share. And my hope is it inspires others to then go chase their dreams.
Wow. Well, I'll say one thing about this episode is you have definitely inspired me. I appreciate just all the nuggets that you've given me. Like, I had all these questions written down that I didn't get to any of them because you just,
I
it
can
was just
talk,
great,
Jeremiah.
man. No, and I like it. I'm like, yeah, this feels like Joe Rogan. We're just talking. And I love it. I've learned so much, and you saw me writing down so many things. But I really appreciate you for being a part of the Prosper Brief, and I'm really excited to see you in Amelia Island at Prosper Forum. it's going to be a great time, and I'm looking forward to just, connecting with you and working with you further, man. So thank
Can't
you.
wait, man. Of course. Thank you. And hopefully, again, I always say if you've made it this far into the pod and you're still listening, trust that. There's some pods that you listen to and topic doesn't land, you're gone in 2 minutes or you're busy. But if you're here at the 50th minute mark of our conversation, then there's something that we talked about that is sticking with you. And I would ask you to explore that more. Maybe there's fear in your life. Maybe you want to be brave and you want to be courageous and you just haven't figured out a way to unlock it. But trust that if you're still here 50 minutes in, that there's something about this topic that's worth exploring.
You heard it from him. All right. Until next time, we'll see you here on the Prosper Brief.